Hey guys, welcome back to Math Advisory. I want you to take your paper and I want you to fold it in four. Remember, these papers are going to your math teacher, so make sure you're writing everything down. It is for a grade. Okay, let's go ahead and four. Okay, so let's go ahead and brain dump. So what is a rate? A rate is when we compare two things. Okay, so we can either compare money in pounds or miles in time. It's a bunch of different things. We read gumballs to total gumballs. All of that is rate because you're comparing things. What is a ratio? Same thing. Ratio is a comparison, but remember, ratios can be written as a fraction with a those two dots, a colon, or the word to. When you see a percent, what do you know? I know percents are out of 100. How do you solve a proportion problem? So remember, we can solve by making a ratio table and finding the patterns, or we can make a proportion and still finding the patterns. And then how do you solve a percent problem? So remember, we would put that as, I'm going to use this, two ways. We have our part to whole or our part to total equals percent over 100. Or we can still have a ratio table where we're talking about part to whole. Okay. So now that we've brain dumped and we talked about important vocabulary, let's go ahead and start on the problems. So this is my mini lesson. Make sure you're writing this down, and of course we're going to find our keywords. Okay, it says Coach Carey jogs 12 miles for every 6. Okay, so Coach Carey jogs 12 miles for every 6 miles. Miss Fowler power walks. Based on this ratio, if Miss Fowler walks 27 miles, how many miles did Coach Carey jog? Okay. Something. I think this is supposed to say every 6 minutes. Coach Carey jogs 12 miles for every 6 minutes. Miss Fowler power walks. Based on this ratio, if Miss Fowler walks 27 miles, how many miles did Coach Carey jog? I guess that is supposed to be miles. Sorry, you guys. All right, I'm sorry. So, all right, let's go ahead and write what we know. We know that Coach Carey, he jogs 12 miles for every 6 miles. So he jogs 12, he's going to walk 6. Okay, Miss Fowler, she walks 27. This is just written weird. How many miles did Coach? Guys, I'm gonna let y'all know. Sometimes I make mistakes whenever I type things out, but this problem is really weird. I know it's a proportion though, or a ratio table. So let's go ahead, and we know that we have jogs and walks. So Coach Carey jogs 12, he walks 6. We know that Miss Fowler walks 27. Okay, I really want to know how much does Miss Fowler jog, because that's my missing information. This I don't think is written correctly. Okay, so can I get from 12 to 6? Actually, I can, right? How do I get from 12 to 6? Well, I can divide by 2. So something divided by 2 gets me 27. So something divided by 2 gets me 27. How could I figure that out? Well, I can do the opposite, right? So how can I get this box by itself? I can do the inverse. So multiply by 2, multiply by 2. My 2's cancel. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry my 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Wow. Okay, Miss Fowler. Good job. You went 54 miles. Coach Carey, you're going to have to pick it up a notch, all right? Just kidding. Again, you guys, I'm sorry that the problem was written all funky. You know, it's been a long day. All right, so let's go ahead and do another one. You can go ahead and turn over your paper or get another paper. So I have my paper and 4. Okay. Miss Anderson is making party favors for her daughter's birthday. Each party favor bag contains 5 pieces of candy, 1 bag of popcorn, 2 temporary tattoos. What percent of the party bags are temporary tattoos? Okay, so let's talk about our keywords. What do we know? We know that each party bag has 5 candies, 1 bag of popcorn, and 2 temporary tattoos. We also want to know the percent of the temporary tattoos, right? Okay, because we're looking for a percent, we're going to make a ratio table or a proportion. So, part over whole. So, I don't know my percent, but I know percents are out of 100, correct? Yes. Okay, so now how many pieces would be in my party bag? Well, let's see. 5 plus 2, 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. But how many were just tattoos? 2. Okay. So now let's go ahead and solve. Let's find a pattern. Can I get from 8 to 100? No. But there is a pattern here. How do I get from 2 to 8? I can multiply by 4, right? So what could you multiply by 4 to get to 100? So something times 4 gets me 100. I have to get this box by itself, so I can divide by 4. Divide by 4. $1 split into 4 is 25. So this was 25%. Okay, so now your teacher's going to pause it so you can solve, okay, and then they're going to check your answer. So it says, Mary is baking cookies for her class party. The table shows the amount of cups of chocolate chips she uses for each amount of cups of sugar she uses in the recipe. At this rate, how many cups of chocolate chips will she use for 4.5 cups? So let's go ahead and write our important information. So I'm going to go ahead and write my table. So this is sugar, this is chocolate chips. So 1.5 is for 3/4, that's 0.75. 2 cups of sugar for 1 cup of chocolate chips. 2.5, 2.5 for 1 1/4, that's 1.25. And then 3 cups for 1.5. Okay, we know it says at this rate. Anytime we have at this rate, that means a proportion. How many chocolate chips for 4.5 cups of sugar? Okay. So I'm going to be honest. I like to use numbers that do not have decimals in it or fractions. So I'm going to use this for my proportion or for my ratio table. So I know that I'm comparing sugar and cups, and for 2 cups of sugar is 1 cup of chocolate chips. But I want to know for 4.5 cups of sugar. So I got to figure out how can I get from 2 to 4.5. Well, I may not know that, but I do know how to get from 2 to 1. I can divide by 2, right? So whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So I'm going to do 4.5 divided by 2. 2 can go into 4 twice. Subtract that 0, bring down my 5, bring up my decimal. 2 goes into 5 twice. Subtract that 1, add a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So they made 2.25 or 2 1/4 cups of sugar. Okay, let's do the next one. So again, y'all should be solving and then you're checking your answers here. It says students earn 25 points for every 5 correct answers. So 25 points for every 5 correct answers. At this rate, remember, that means proportion or a ratio table. How many points will a student have for 13 correct answers? Okay, so what 2 things are we comparing? We're comparing points and correct answers. So I'm going to go ahead and make my table. So we have points and we have correct answers. I know it's 25 points for 5 correct answers. But I want to know how many points for 13 correct answers. Notice that my ratio table has the labels. Make sure your ratio table has labels. Okay. how can I get from 25 to 5? Well, I can divide by 5. Okay? So whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So something divided by 5 is going to get me 13. Remember, we have to get this box by itself. So I have to do the inverse. I have to do the opposite. So I can multiply by 5, multiply by 5. Remember, my 5's cancel. So now I'm going to do 13 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry my 1. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So it is 65 points for 13 correct answers. Okay, I'm going to get another paper. Look at me, I'm still folding paper, so you should be showing all kinds of work. Let your teacher know if you need some extra paper. Okay, so it says, Mariah has 240 pieces of candy to give away for Easter. She gives away 60%. How many pieces did she give away? Okay, so what do we know? We know that, so for my keywords, we have 240 pieces. We know that's my total. Okay, she gives away 60%. Okay, they want to know how many she gives away. Did she give away everything? No. So we know that this is going to be my part. So let's go ahead and make a proportion or a ratio table. So we have our part, we have our whole. We know that she gave away 240 pieces, but we don't know how many of that she gave away. We know that she had 60% and percents are out of 100, correct? Okay. I don't have a pattern here. So like I can't get from 240 to 100 or get from 60 to 100. Or I could, I just don't know that rule on top of my head. So we're going to do what Ms. Harkins likes to do, and I like to simplify. So if I had 60 over 100, I can take away a 0 and simplify that by 10. So now I have 6 over 10. But so now if I try to get from 10 to 240, can I do that? Yes, I can, absolutely. I can multiply 24 to get to 240. So whatever now I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 24 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry my 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. So she gave away 144 pieces of candy. I wish she would have given me some. Okay. Look at number 4. This problem's about Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you paying attention? Just kidding. So Emmanuel ran 30 miles to prepare for a marathon. So my key words, 30 miles. This is 12% of his goal for running. How many miles did Emmanuel set as his goal? Okay, so he already ran 30 miles, but apparently that is just a piece of it because it says it's 12% of his goal. They want to know how many is his goal. So whatever has to be my total. So let's go ahead and make a ratio table. Part, whole. So we had 30 miles. That's my part, but we don't know how many is my whole. But we know we have 12% over 100 because percents are always over 100. Okay, can I get from 30 to 12? No, I don't know that rule. Can I get from 12 to 100? Again, I don't know that rule. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. So I have 12 over 100. I can simplify both of that by 2 because they're both even. And I get 6 over 50. Okay, because 2 50s get me 100. And then 6 times 2 gives me 12. That's where I got that from. So now, can I get from 6 to 30? Yes, I can. I can multiply it by 5. So 50 times 5 gets me 250. Dang, Emmanuel, you want to run 250 miles. That is crazy. Okay, now it's time for our exit ticket. I don't have enough room here, so I'm going to get another paper. Tom went fishing with his grandpa. He caught 16 fish. This is 40% of the total fish he caught. How many fish were caught? Okay, so Tom went fishing with his grandpa. Oh, so sweet. I wish I could go fishing with my grandpa. He caught 16 fish. This is 40% of the total. They want to know how many he caught. So this is only part of it. We got to figure out what our total is. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and make that ratio table. So we still don't know my total. This is 40%. 100. All right. I don't know how to get from 16 to 40. And I don't know how to get from 40 to 100. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify some things. I know I can take away both zeros, so I have 4 out of 10. Now, can I get from 4 to 16? Absolutely. So 4 times 4 gets me 16. So whatever I do to the top, I got to do to the bottom. So I would have 40 fish. All right, guys, that is it for now, and I will see you next week. Bye.